Hello and welcome back to another episode of KSP POV where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. Today we're just going to jump right on into it because this is the part 2 of the last episode, The Adventures of the Minty Spoon. So let's get started. We are currently hovering above the moon of Minmus, which is the second moon in the Kerbals sphere of influence. And one of the easier ones to land on, one of the harder ones to get to. So first off, we're going to just go ahead and upgrade our tracking station. Since we have the money to do it, it gives us an extra 250 kilometers of communication range, so that's going to be very helpful soon. But for now, we are going to focus on the landing. I did fast forward through a lot of the footage to get to Minmus because that's just, you know, pretty typical of what we've always done. But for this mission, I think I'm going to leave much of it unedited. So that little place, that little horseshoe shape is where we're aiming for. That's my favorite place to land on Minmus because you can get to several biomes pretty quickly that way. So that's what we're aiming for. And that's why we didn't want to do a straight up and down change of trajectory. Basically this trajectory change that we're doing, we didn't want to make it completely vertical, even though that would help us to land a lot easier because we kill all our horizontal velocity. All we have to focus on is the vertical. But no, I think I wanted to just basically go for something that was a better landing zone rather than an easier one. The problem, though, is that once again, I don't have a reaction wheel on this craft, so it's very sluggish to turn, and following the retrograde can be a little bit difficult at times. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the footage here as I descend towards the surface. But what I do want to say is we're watching this M.A.C.H window that gives us the countdown to our suicide burn. We're going to burn slightly before it tells us to, just because sometimes it takes a little bit to get our engines started. So now I'm time warping, but I'm trying to be very careful not to overdo it. That's the quickest way to kill a mission, is just to time warp past the time that you're supposed to burn, and then you just end up hitting it. So about 2.5 kilometers. Now we're about 2 kilometers, and that's when the landing gear automatically deploys. Oh, excuse me. Now we're at about 2 kilometers. We get to hear the voice of the computer telling us that we're at 2,000. In a moment, it's going to tell us we're at 1,500. There we go. So normally I have that it's inaudible typically, but I found out a way to make it so you can still hear it even though it's sped up a lot. But I enjoy hearing the altitude being read out to me. And I'm not exactly straight up and down here. I'm still coming in at an angle, which is concerning. I'm thinking, I don't know for sure because I still can't see, but I think I had that set to orbit as opposed to set to surface, which is why it's having me angled this way. And as you can see on the vessel viewer, even that is at an angle, so I'm trying my hardest to pull that thing over. But before I know it, we landed. We made contact. I'm a little nervous about tipping over, so I'm just trying to keep an eye on everything. I go ahead and redeploy my solar panels. I forgot to mention that I turned them off when we landed, or as we were landing, to prevent accidental destruction of them. Well, here we go. We're not exactly in the place that I want to be. I like to be over by that peninsula to the right, but we're still in a general vicinity of another biome that we can do. So everyone is looking fine. They had a nice journey. We're going to go ahead and get Shepcan out. He's going to be the first Kerbal to set foot on the surface of Minmus. And beautiful, look at that. That majestic ship. So we plant the flag for the glory of Kerbin. And we go ahead and make our way back into the safety of our command pod. Because when you're in space, everything around you is death. You only have the small margin to survive by. So now it's time to do some science. We go ahead and hit our action group. We tried to transmit, but for some reason it wasn't letting us transmit. So I don't know why. I know we had communication dishes on this, and I know we've done transmissions before, so I didn't know why it wouldn't let me. Nonetheless, though, we get our scientist Calmore Kerman out. Now it's time for him to take his steps. But first he's going to do all of his science duties of collecting data and restoring experiments. I'm just checking to see if there's anything here, but it doesn't look like it. And touchdown. We've now had 2 Kerbals on the surface of the Minmus. So go ahead and take an EVA report and a surface sample, and then we're gonna just take our RCS pack and jump up into the air a little bit to see if there's anything that we can spot just with our naked eye, any kind of surface features or anything. We find our clone again. Is that... I think I just saw a surface feature directly behind our ship. I could be wrong. I didn't notice it until just this very moment. But is that a sandstone? Oh, no. Okay, that's just our flag. I was gonna say, did I make an expedition to get a sandstone and it was right there? But no. Okay, we're all good. Sometimes you don't see things until after the editing process, when you've gone through everything and you're looking at it, it just makes sense in your mind eventually. Like that time in the last episode when I didn't see Minmus. So just wanted to board again so that way we could drop off the surface sample and the EVA report, as well as just refill on our RCS fuel. And now we're just gonna pick the closest direction, the closest nearest biome, and just kind of work our way over there. We are going relatively fast, so we have to really be careful about our speed. We have to manage it. We've spaghettified Kerbals by going too fast over the surface before. And we're trying our very hardest not to kill Kerbals in this series. In the last series, we were trying as well, but we were killing them left and right. So could you really say that we were trying that hard? But in this series, we're gonna try. We're gonna try our best. And so I spot something, and I start to try to angle myself towards it, as well as slowing down my speed. 16 meters per second is still a little bit too fast. And I'm using my nav ball to kind of gauge my trajectory. So here it is. And if we ever get a contract to scan one of these things with a rover arm, we know basically where it's at. All we have to do is land close to that flag and follow the same path. So that's nice. Look at that thing. It's beautiful. So I want to take a surface sample from it. I don't think it actually gives me a different experiment, but figured why not climb to the top of it, see what we can see what we can learn about it. There he is. So when we turn, we spot another little spot on the surface, and so we decide to head towards that. And once again, we see our clone. That is, I'm pretty sure that's just a bug with the Through the Eyes of the Kerbal mod. But I've never experienced it before. It's only been through this series, so I don't know exactly. Now I'm coming down pretty fast, and I was quite concerned about that. There we go. And I also don't know what that black dot is. I accidentally did a front flip when I tried to jump because I still had my RCS on. Woo, that was a little bit hard of a landing, but thankfully we survived. So now all we got to do is climb up top here, and then go ahead and get ourselves a little sample of it. So Calmore pulls out his trusty pickaxe and breaks this stone free. Gives us a bunch of science for this, but all we gotta do is get it home so the Kerbals in the lab can study it. And so now all he's gotta do is just make it back to the ship, and I think their mission could be considered a success. And they can head home. I time warp a little bit to kind of make it a little easier on myself, and it freezes up for a second, and I get very worried. Typically when it freezes up, there's a disaster that follows. Thankfully, we pointed ourselves in the right direction, and initially we couldn't see our craft, but eventually it came into view, and that made us very happy. So now all we gotta do is make sure we come in with a soft enough landing that we don't kill ourselves. Once again, using the nav ball to pinpoint. I had the ship targeted, so I can see exactly which direction that I'm going in relative to it. And it seems like it's very fast, and that's because it is. So I just shoot on past it, but I go ahead and reverse my direction. I turn myself sideways, and then I try to line up with the capsule door. And just like that, we're back. And we are on board. And we are getting ready to come home. So back in the Alcor pod, everything was shut off to conserve power. And so we go ahead and get our screens back up. Communication to mission control has been reestablished. And we wanted to visit 2 biomes. We wanted to kind of jump our ship over there. But we decided not to. Not for the sake of fuel. I believe that we would definitely have enough fuel. But for the sake of life support. We got to be very careful with how long we spend here. Because it's such a long journey back to Kerbin, we spent a good portion of our supplies this way. And then before I know it, our engines are so powerful that we have an escape trajectory. I was not expecting to get that so quickly. And I'm glad that I checked it out before it was too late, because I very well could have sent them careening out of Kerbin's sphere of influence altogether. So we go ahead and do some science for in space low, I believe this is. Just pick up some extra experiments that we didn't have before, or the ones that can be redone over a different biome. So we grab the magnetometer boom. It will be a good amount of science to bring back. The magnetometer boom is usually pretty good. That's why I like to have 4 of them. Just get one everywhere that we can go. I did realize that I forgot one experiment, which is the graviton. I actually brought the wrong one. I brought the atmospheric pressure experiment, and I should have brought the gravity one, because the atmosphere experiment doesn't work here because there is no atmosphere. Go ahead, take another EVA report, and then restart this one, collect it, and put it back. There we go. And then hop on board. Calmore is putting in a lot of effort. He's talking to Shepcan, and as they're coming back, and he's talking about how he wants to work towards getting a raise. He and his significant other are looking to have a fabulous marriage, and it's going to be quite expensive. So he really needs to impress the higher ups by doing something big for the mission. So now they plot in the return. We do it at the apoapsis because that is the point that we're going the slowest. So it's the easiest it's the most efficient on your delta V because you're already going slow. So you already start ahead of where you would be. Trying to slow down at the periapsis, because that's when you're going the fastest. That takes up the most amount. So that little alert we had was just a low charge alert, because for a period of time there was an eclipse, and so we just didn't have charge. That one too. But just every now and then. But it's nothing to worry about. Not in this case. We have plenty of batteries, and the solar panels that we have are the extra large ones, so we get plenty of power from that. So here we are. We're approaching our maneuver node, and we have Flight Computer taking care of it to kind of keep us a little more accurate. And then here we are in the last 3 minutes. And we fire. There we go. Didn't take too much effort. We still have plenty of fuel in our 4 side boosters, and they are hooked up by a fuel duct, and so they will be refueling the middle one, which I assumed would be the one to take us here. Like, once again, I was initially planning on hopping 2 biomes, but because we didn't, we did that. So now here's a problem. We have 12 days and a handful of hours of supplies, but our maneuver is in 15 days. We are going to lose these Kerbals in space before we can even get them back through the atmosphere. The Kerbals inside have a lot to consider right now. They don't know. They're trying to figure out the best way to save this mission. They relay the information to mission control, but the signal gets cut short. So Shepcan go ahead and turns on the AC modules to keep the cabin clear. He went to hit the descent stage, but accidentally hit the science action group. So we go ahead and activate our descent stage. So our radiators will be active. Our communication dishes will be stowed. Our solar panels will be stowed, although we keep them open for the time being. Worst case scenario, they get ripped off in the atmosphere. That's not a problem. The way the Shepcan's idea was that they both die together and just make it so the ship and all its science can get back to Kerbin. But Calmore has a different idea. Calmore takes a sigh, and he looks at the life support. He does the math, and he sees how far away they are. And with a tearful goodbye, he says to tell his significant other that he loves them. Shepcan gives him a salute and stays in radio contact for as long as he can. Just talking, telling jokes, telling stories. Then Calmore can't bear to see anymore. So he takes one last look at the ship, gives Shepcan a salute and wishes him luck, turns on his communications, and slides backwards through the void. His sacrifice gave Shepcan the supplies necessary to make it back, but just barely. Shepcan keeps checking the log to see if there's any update on his crewmate's condition. He keeps thinking that he feels and senses his passing, but nothing on the log confirms that. They're probably no longer in communication. Things start running out a little sooner than expected. So there's nothing else that we can do except for time warp our way towards our maneuver node and watch the supplies drop into the negatives. Shepcan is carefully controlling his breath, making sure not to take any extra oxygen that he doesn't need, sacrificing his motor skills to the lack of oxygen in there, but just enough to hold the ship steady as it approaches the big blue ball he calls home. So the timer goes off, letting us know that we have 3 minutes till our maneuver node, but we are already starting to come through the atmosphere. So we have to make a quick decision on whether or not to let the flight computer run the maneuver or to do it ourselves. We stow our solar panels because we still don't want them to rip off, because that's going to cause trouble. We see that our craft is already starting to heat up, so we kill the flight computer's maneuver and try to handle this ourselves. It takes a second to get SAS control back on, but once we do, we hold retrograde and fire. Shepcan is holding his breath in anticipation, but it's also helping him utilize the last of his oxygen. His throat is parched, his belly is rumbling. He hasn't had any food for the past day. He does everything he can to hold the ship steady. The temperature of the pod is staying relatively safe, but that's because we have the whole of the undercraft keeping us from overheating. My periapsis comes within the atmosphere, and we're using our spin technique to keep us stabilized, and then we jettison our side stages and see them surrounding us as we spin. And before we can even react, they all start exploding with the detonation devices that we put on it, sending shrapnel every single direction and potentially damaging us. Now that we've jettisoned the lower part, our temperature starts rising. In the top center, you can see the green bar hopping up and down as we spin, trying to dissipate the heat all from any one part. We're going to be landing a little short of the KSC, but still in the dark. We have full charge, so luckily this mission won't suffer the problems that previous missions had. Shepcan is under massive amounts of G-forces as he shoves the joystick to the side as hard as he can to keep the craft spinning. And then the heat gauge starts going into the red. Every time it beeps, we are just moments away from everything just destroying in front of us. Shepcan screams and grits his teeth, vowing that Calmore's death will not be in vain. For more than 10 minutes, he sits there watching that heat meter threaten him. Trajectory starts swaying off the retrograde, and for some reason his top parachute pops and burns up. And his spin technique is no longer working. He's just swaying. We start to see the curvature of the planet and the sunrise, giving us hope, and that hope comes true as the heat dissipates. The pod cools down, and we are coming home. Shepcan breathes a sigh of relief, and for the first time since he had to say goodbye, he communicates with Mission Control and lets them know that he's coming. Once it's safe to do so, he arms the parachutes. He still has a couple, but he's not sure if it's going to be enough to keep him from hitting the water too fast. But he breathes a sigh of relief when he sees them pop nonetheless. And with 1 kilometer left to go, the chutes open, and his speed dramatically drops. Looking at the data, falling at only negative 3.46 meters per second, he knows he's coming down at a safe speed, but he doesn't like the fact that he's tilting upside down where all the experiments are stored. Can't break all the science that Calmore worked so hard to get. So he rights himself up, points his heat shield down towards the water, and waits for contact. The warning that he's now at 500 meters goes off, and he had set that because in case the parachutes didn't eject, that was his last moment to hop out of the capsule and save his own life. After losing Calmore, he wasn't sure that he would even want to. Less than 100 meters to go. And we make contact. It's in the middle of the ocean, in the dead of night. But he's home. And he has no more supplies, and if he doesn't radio for help soon, he too will die. And the boats and the military and the scientists meet him, pry him out of that ship, give him an oxygen mask and some food and water, and call him a hero. But he doesn't feel like a hero. Werner is happy. The mission is declared an official success. He is honored. Many badges awarded to him for his achievements. But all he cares about doing right now is honoring his friend. He gathers a few of the others, get them together, and they take a trip out to the island runway and pay their respects. Well, everyone, that is where I'm going to leave today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.